All right.
Wow, 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 wow. Yeah. My crew were jammed to abandoned buildings. Sees an empty cup we fill 'em. I keep my circle tight, vibe just right with my six string singing all night. Gender, faith, color, or lover, don't matter one way or other. No complaints from music softer. Thanking God for that, but news dad is a doctor. My crew doesn't quit.
All right, so what this last picture shows is I've been doing Dutch buckets using composted soil for over 6 years. And I Googled the thought on YouTube first. I Googled Dutch buckets using composted soil, and I found absolutely no one is doing this. It seems that I'm the first and only one doing Dutch buckets using composted soil. I was very surprised at that thought, because whatever these Dutch buckets or soilless growing Dutch bucket systems can do, growing with soil can do better on many levels. And the same, I did a search on the internet. I found the same thing. Nobody is doing Dutch buckets using composted soil, and it's very expensive to do it the other way, the soilless route. When you think of all these synthetic fertilizers that must be mined and bought and put into these plastic jars and have to be shipped, and all the stuff that I've been using. I'm going to pack a bucket right here for you now. As this video plays through, I'm going to narrate it best I can. And this is it. I already showed, I put a link below on how I make a Dutch bucket. I already shared with the viewing audience this. Now, right now, I'm working on my aeration tube. And my aeration tube and drainage tube is just a few cans. But I put a bunch of holes in it. This can, I happen to already use it with one Dutch bucket system, and I'm using it again. And these are the long iced tea cans. I try to get these long cans because they happen to go right to the top to the soil line, where air can have aeration throughout the whole bucket, no matter how deep your bucket is filled with water. So just poke, be careful with that blade, of course. And then I put a sock over it. Now the sock stops solids from clogging up the hole, which it never clogs, and also it adds the aeration, of course, and of course wicking. It always stays moist, so the plant always has moisture to depend on, to go to when you forgot to water your bin. You can go a very, very long time not needing to re-water. And there's many ways to go longer, and we'll talk about that in other videos. Cardboard, all day long. I wrapped it all around with cardboard. This is all great PUD, potential urban duff, that I just packed this bucket with. And notice, all the stuff that I'm packing with so far, it costs nothing. Now, usually I put seasoned wood chips down below, but instead I put somewhat composted leaves. Now, this slipper, I was going to try to take this rubber part off, but I found it was very time-consuming and difficult, so what did I do? I just threw it in there like it was. This is made of wool, and it should be a great little spot for the worms to go and just find a nice moist spot if the bucket happens to go dry, and I'd throw anything. I was going to put a composting roll in that bucket, but I forgot all about it. But usually I do. A composting roll that's full of house compost goes in there as well to help feed the reds, but I didn't. And looking at what I'm filling with, I'm sure these reds are going to have enough to feed on and turn to castings. Right there is my soil amendment, which is cardboard now that was already went into one bucket that I had a cannon plant, and there's tons of cocoons within it and little baby worms, and there's so many. There's probably 100 reds that are going to be in here. This is just a synthetic cloth that happened to be in there. I just threw that in there to retain moisture, where the reds won't be able to necessarily eat it, but it'll be able to retain the moisture. Here's some more newspaper. All stuff doesn't cost me anything. And I'm going to plant cucumbers in this 6-gallon bucket. And no doubt, I'm planting too many. I always do. My sister's going to look and she's going to say, that's too many. But I might thin them out as I go. I'm trying to push the limits of how much is too much. How many plants are too much, depending on the plant. So cucumbers, I might end up with 2 or 3. I don't know. I can't tell you, because I might just let them all grow and just to see what happens. But anyway, look at this soil right here. I got this soil, like I was saying, from another pot. And this, I was experimenting with cardboard and cardboard and worm castings, and that's it. And the worms turn this planter into a living underground world, and that's what I'm using in this cucumber bucket as my soil amendment. So that's kind of neat. Look at the worms. There's already a ton of worms in there, and lots and lots of cocoons as well. So this is going to be packed come fall. When winter comes, I'll be dumping this out, and I'll be bringing those worms back into the basement. Right now, most of my reds are out in the field working because we have great weather right now. And now I only have it, I got it almost full, but I'm going to fill it up, get all this moisture with this liquid nutrient that came out of one of my towers. I'm just going to pour that right through, get everything nice and wet, and make it break down a little bit more so I can fit more material in it. So that's exciting. Now Lynette. So what else? I'm going to top it with some more of this soil amendment that we were talking about earlier. And so that's great. Now see that the way that sock is right up to the top? That's where I put it. So air is going through there and down through within the container. Now I'm going to put some really good looking duff on top of there, so when people walk by and say, wow, you got some really good soil in there. And the reality is there's more than just soil in there. There's all kinds of discarded material, potential urban duff. One day it'll be soil, but until it becomes soil, I'll be growing food with it. Now here's my Dutch bucket system. We're going to talk a little bit about it. I'm probably going to have to do another video on it. All these containers, that square one way down the end I'm watering right now, that is tied into the system as well, a Dutch bucket system. There is no irrigation lost with this system. That one that I'm watering right there, that's a new model that I'm working on. I think it holds great possibility. I'm growing mint, and so all the water comes out in one location. And so you can regulate the depth of the water within each container depending on that last drainage spot there. We'll show you how much water you want to keep in there, depending on the height of that drain hole.
All right,
Is how much water will be in there.
Like the beginning of the video shows, you don't see too many people, if anybody. I might be the only one on planet Earth who does Dutch buckets using composted soil. As you've seen in some of my videos, each one of these buckets is packed with just organic matter. It's more of a worm farm than growing plants, but of course the end result with our worm farm is having awesome plants that we can eat from, right? So while everybody's out buying these hydroponics and the perlite and all the stuff that goes along with the hydroponics and the aeroponics, with the hydroponics, I'm using free composted soil that people are discarding all day long, all this organic. So if I'm wrong about me being the only one using soil as a Dutch bucket, please put some links down below so I could see other people, follow people who understand that growing Dutch buckets using composted soil is the way to go. It's a no-brainer. So I know I always got to get my soilless growing digs in there, but here, these Dutch buckets, it's just another one. There's a guy named Bobby that I put the links down below that he does a great job with the hydroponics using Dutch buckets, and I learned a lot from him. Back in the day, I did do hydroponics with Dutch bucket system hydroponics, and I always had growing anxiety when I went away. Pump fails, something happens where you just lose everything, especially in August when things are nice and big and need a lot of water. If your pump fails or something happens, electricity cuts out, that's a big concern. All your work for naught. And it is work, folks. Don't let anybody tell you the aeroponics, the hydroponics route doesn't take work. It does take work, as all growing does. There's a faster way. There's a cheaper way. And this is it. This Dutch bucket system, if you get the buckets free, is literally so cheap. Under 20 bucks, I would say, with all the parts. The conduits are cheap, the grommets, and everything else is just stuff I find. Now, last point. So when you're watering this, now the water's coming out. That's all this anaerobic all the way down. All these buckets are tied in. So all this water that's coming out, of course, I'm wasting it right now. All that water that's coming out. But next time you water it, you drain it all out first. Get all that anaerobic water, that's possibly anaerobic water, out of there. Add that to your good water, and that should add some more oxygen to it, and water it again. So right now you see a little dripping here. That level is right about here in each bucket. Okay? let's see where it really comes out. So right about here is where all these buckets level is. And I want it to go, I'm going to go right about here. And that's it. Dutch buckets using soil is the way to grow. Come on, if you're going to do Dutch buckets, why would you go the hydroponics route? It's just a big waste of money. It ties you into, once again, it ties you into some corporate entity for your growing needs. Growing should not cost you anything, but growing should be all about a closed loop system. This is permaculture, inner city permaculture at its best here, folks. That's all I have to say for now. God bless. Over and out.
We will most certainly heal this planet one urban farmer at a time.
I'm ready to back up everything I'm saying, and I'm through talking. Is this?